I never thought a simple dinner could cause such a mess. But somehow it did. And it all started with one request: don't bring your boss. Sounds simple, right? But then again, when has anything ever gone as planned in my life? Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening. Your support means everything. It was just another one of those moments where everything seemed normal until it wasn't. A couple of months ago, my husband, Jason, was invited to an exclusive dinner with his company's top brass. This was a big deal for him. I could tell by the way he'd been glowing every time he mentioned it. I knew what this meant. This was the kind of dinner where you were either going to leave with a promotion or without a job. It was high stakes. It was stressful. And Jason, being Jason, was both nervous and excited. He'd been working with this company for years, steadily climbing the corporate ladder, and the invite to this event meant he was at the next level. But there was one problem. He had a bad habit. A habit that had been, frankly, irritating me for a while. He was always overcommitting and overpromising, and the worst part, he would often promise things on my behalf without checking with me first. When he came to me one evening, all bright-eyed, asking if his boss could join us for dinner the night after the big event, I felt a pit in my stomach. Of course, he had to ask me first, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to host their husband's boss and the rest of his high-powered colleagues? But, seriously, after an exhausting week, I barely had the energy to think about my own plans, let alone entertain a group of business elites. Jason, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, this dinner is supposed to be for you. A celebration, not an audience. And no offense, but I've seen how you get when you're under pressure. The last thing I need is to be stuck in a room with people who don't even know how to order from a menu without looking at their phones. He looked at me, his expression one of hurt and confusion. Come on, babe. This is important. Don't you want to help me move up? I didn't want to sound unsupportive. Of course, I wanted him to succeed, but this was different. I get it, I said, trying to soften the blow. But you've got to set some boundaries. You can't just bring work home all the time. Let's keep it low-key, just the two of us. After everything you've been through with this dinner, you deserve a quiet evening. Just relax. Jason thought about it for a second before giving me that half grin. All right, no boss. But I'll make it up to you, I promise. Relieved, I agreed. Good. Let's just have a peaceful night. It should have ended there. But of course, life loves a curveball. The day of the dinner came, and Jason was a bundle of nerves, pacing around the house. He'd been so caught up with the work dinner that he hadn't even noticed how the house looked. He was focused on his outfit, his presentation, everything except, the fact that I was still trying to pull off a nice, simple dinner in the middle of all this chaos. He was running around getting ready, calling his colleagues to tell them how everything had gone, while I was left juggling last-minute details. Dinner prep, setting the table, running the dishwasher. I glanced over at him, wishing he could see how tired I was. Jason, the dinner is in a few hours. Can you please stop pacing? I called out, frustrated. I'm just making sure everything's perfect, he replied, his voice full of that annoying corporate optimism. I need this night to be perfect. I need everything to go well. Everything is going well. Just please relax. I'd barely gotten to start on the salad when there was a knock at the door. My heart sank. Who could it be? I wasn't expecting anyone, and Jason was supposed to be out the door already. I opened the door, and there, standing on the porch, was Jason's boss, Mr. Harper, with his confident smile, expensive watch, and perfectly pressed suit. He was every bit the high-powered exec that Jason had been raving about for weeks. Evening, Mr. Harper said smoothly, as if this wasn't a surprise to him at all. Jason invited me over for dinner. Figured I'd drop by a little early and surprise you both. Hope I'm not interrupting anything. My stomach churned. I must have looked like I'd seen a ghost, but I forced a smile. Oh, you're "You're early," I stammered. Jason didn't mention. And then, the worst part happened. As if on cue, Jason appeared behind me, still in his dress shirt, but now clearly panicking. His eyes darted from Mr. Harper to me, realizing exactly what was happening. "Babe, what's going on?" he asked, his voice cracking just a little. I tried to keep it together. "Jason, I told you no, boss." He froze, then looked back at Mr. Harper. "Wait. You didn't mind coming by early, did you?" Jason said, attempting to save face. But I could see it in his eyes he was in damage control mode. "Not at all," Mr. Harper replied, unfazed. "I thought it'd be nice to spend some time with you two outside of the office." "Right," I said, forcing a smile. "Of course. But, Jason and I actually—" "Honey," Jason interrupted, rushing past me into the living room. "Mr. Harper's here, so we'll just start a bit early. I hope that's all right." Before I could speak, he ushered Mr. Harper into the dining room like he'd been expecting him all along. I stood there, mouth agape, as the two of them settled into conversation. I was paralyzed, stuck between wanting to scream and just walk out. It was happening. Right in front of me. What the hell was I supposed to do now? I'd barely had time to pull myself together, and here was Jason's boss. Sitting at our dinner table like this was all part of the plan. As I finished preparing the meal, I noticed Mr. Harper making himself comfortable in a way that felt too comfortable. He was asking about our vacations, about things that Jason and I only talked about in private. Things that, honestly, should not have been up for discussion in front of a stranger. I felt like I was losing control of the situation, and with every passing minute, my discomfort grew. But then, just as I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. Jason's phone buzzed on the table. I glanced at it, catching a glimpse of the message that had just popped up. It was from his assistant. "Mr. Harper called. He said your wife didn't mind dinner being a little earlier tonight. Hope everything's good on your end. See you in an hour for the post-dinner meeting." I looked at Jason, who was still distracted, talking about the latest company merger, unaware that I was holding his phone, feeling betrayed by both him and his boss. That's when it clicked. This dinner wasn't just about me. It wasn't about celebrating. It was about showing Mr. Harper that Jason was willing to go above and beyond, willing to make him feel at home. Even if that meant breaking our personal boundaries. It was a test. And Jason had failed. At that moment, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Jason," I said, voice shaking, "you invited him, didn't you?" He hesitated. "What? No, don't lie to me." "I see the message." I waved his phone in front of his face. He looked guilty, his shoulders slumping as he sighed. "Look, I didn't want to disappoint him. You know how these things work. If I didn't go along with it, he could think I wasn't serious about my career." I was furious. "At what cost, Jason?" "At my cost. You promised me you wouldn't bring him." The tension in the room hung thick. But what happened next stunned me. Mr. Harper, who had been quiet up until this point, suddenly stood up. "I have to admit," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle, "I didn't realize how much pressure you were under, Jason. I didn't mean to overstep. If it makes things easier, I'll excuse myself." "I can see this isn't the right time." Jason stared at him, flustered. "Wait, no, you don't have to." But Mr. Harper was already walking toward the door, nodding. "Take care of things with your wife, Jason. We can talk business another time." And with that, he left. Just like that. Jason and I sat in silence for a long time after that. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just numb. Jason sat across from me, trying to apologize, but his words felt empty. It was only later that night, when everything had settled, that I realized something. I hadn't just stood up for myself in that moment. I had stood up for us, for the boundaries we had set as a couple. In the end, Jason's career wasn't worth more than our relationship, and maybe, just maybe, that was the kind of test we both needed.